Shabbat Shalom, friends. If you'd be kind enough to take your seats, we'll be starting the service in just a few minutes.
Makes it easier. And actually, the coin truck you gave us got name on it, so.
Shabbat Shalom, friends. Welcome to Temple Sinai. I'm Lynn Weinstein, co-president of our congregation. On behalf of our Board of Trustees and our members who are on virtual Temple Sinai, it's my honor to welcome you this evening. Later in this service, my partner, Betty Adams, will be addressing you. Before we start the service, may I remind you to silence your cell phones. Thank you. This evening's worship will be led by student cantor Dan Geigerman, with a little assistance from myself and accompanied by Dr. David McFarland. As we join together in prayer and song, put your whole heart into prayer this evening for many reasons. But before we do that, turn to that camera and welcome the folks who are joining us. And now a little music to start our service.
Create a pure heart in me, Great Spirit. Create a pure heart in me. Create a pure heart in me, Great Spirit. Create a pure heart in me and renew a true soul within me. Renew a true soul within and renew a true soul within me. Renew a true soul within. Create a pure heart in me, Great Spirit. Create a pure heart in me. Create a pure heart in me, Great Spirit. Create a pure heart in me. Shabbat Shalom. It has been a week. It's been a week full of joy for some, tragedy for others. And many of us don't know what to do. But we're here. We're here with each other to pray, to sing, to give strength to each other. We end this Torah book this evening, this Shabbat. We end Vayikra, and we say Chazak, Chazak, V'nit Chazek. From strength to strength, may we be strengthened. And by God, do we need that even more now? But let us have a Havdalah, a separation, for just a moment. And let us bring in the light of Shabbat to our lives. As they say, 1/60th of Olam Haba, of the world to come, of a world of peace. That is what we experience on Shabbat when we bring the light, when we bring the sweetness of the wine, when we come together and gather as a community. So let us try for that. But it's okay if you can't, because we will strengthen each other. It is my honor to invite up Susan Buck to light our Shabbat candles and to help us bring light into our lives right now.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love. Help me perfect my ways of loving and caring. Inspire me to make myself whole so that I may honor your name and create a world of justice and peace. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
And we say, Amen. We now turn to page 200 I did it again. Let's start again. We turn to page 123 for the Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'b'ratzon inchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom tehila lemikra'ei kodesh zecher letziat Mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon inchaltanu baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. Amen. L'chaim. We now begin our Kabbalat Shabbat portion of our prayer on page 130 with L'chu Neranena. Come, let us sing to Adonai. Let our song ring out to our sheltering rock. L'chu Neranena, yai dai 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 dai, l'Adonai. Dai 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 Naharia Yai dai 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 Letzor Yishenu Let all of creation from mountain to sea hear our song. Let Hunderanina, yai dai 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 dai, la Adonai, yai dai 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 dai, Naharia, yai dai 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 dai, let Zor Ishenu, yai dai 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 dai, for all of the wonders in all of God's light, we rejoice. So now let us listen with all of our hearts to hear God's voice. Lechuniranina, yai dai 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 dai, la Adonai, yai dai 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 dai, Naharia, yai dai 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 dai, Litzur Ishenu, yai dai dai, yai dai. I think now we have called on the angels, and let us welcome them into our midst, into our presence, on page 142 with Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Moachem Leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Zidchem Leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We now turn back to page 138 for Lecha Dodi, and as is our custom, we will be singing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9, and rising before the 9th verse to welcome in the Sabbath bride. Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Nekabela Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Nekabela Shamo v'zachor v'niborecha Ishmi'anu el ha'miyuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad L'shem ol tiferet v'litchila lecha dodi Likrat kala b'nei Shabbat Nekabela Lecha dodi לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, זו מעשה במחשבה תחילה לך דודי. לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי. לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. כי תעוררי, כי באורך ומאורי, אורי אורי שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני ילך נגלה לך דודי. לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי. לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, מוריכה לה, בוריכה לה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי. לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. Now that we've welcomed the angels, the Shekhinah, the presence of God into our midst, let's welcome each other. Turn to somebody that you haven't seen in a while. Say Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. We now continue on page 146 and remain standing for a call to worship, the Baruch Hu. 46. Yai da dai 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 dai. Yai da dai 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 dai. Yai da dai 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 dai. Yai da dai 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 dai. Yai da dai 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 dai. Yai da dai 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 dai. Yai da dai 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 dai. Yai da dai 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 dai. Baruch Hu et Adonai Amevorach. We continue on page 148 with Ma'ariv Aravim. Yai dai dai dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu תסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם, ברקיע כרצונו. יאי די די די, יאי די די די, יאי די די די, יאי די 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 די, יאי די 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 די, יאי די 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 די, יאי די 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 די. בורא יום ולילה, גולל אור מפני חושך וחושך מפני אור, ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה. אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני המעריב ערבים. We continue on page 151 at the top of the page together. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. Did you mean Torah for me? Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. We turn the page and rise for the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. You may be seated. We continue on page 154 as we chant together the Ve'ahavta. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol me'odecha ve'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha Ayom al levavecha vishinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם emet. We turn to page 158 and 159. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come. The song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more, the song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. Bye bye bim bidi bye, yabba bye bye bim bam, bye 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 bim bidi bye, yabba bye bye bim bam, I die da die die die, yabba bye bye bim bam, I die da die die die, yabba bye bye bim bam, mihi chamocha bailim Adonai, mihi kamocha bedar bakodesh. No ratehi lo do sefele, no ratehi lo do sefele, mahal lechutecha ra'u fanecha, mokei hayam livnei Moshe u'Miriam, zeheli anu ve'amru, Adonai yimlot le'olam ha'ed. Ya bye bye bim bidi bye, ya bye bye bim bam, bye bye bim bidi bye, ya bye bye bim bam, I die da die die die, ya bye bim bam, I die da die die die, ya bye bim bam. Give us a place to rest, Adonai our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread your shelter of peace over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Cause us, O Lord our God, to lie down each night in peace, and to awaken each morning to renewed life and strength. Spread over us the tabernacle of thy peace. Help us to order our lives by thy counsel, and lead us in the paths of righteousness. Be thou a shield about us, protecting us from hate and war, from pestilence and sorrow. Curb thou also within us the inclination to do evil, and shelter us beneath the shadow of thy wings. Guard our going out and our coming in unto life and peace from this time forth and forevermore. Amen. The Amidah portion of our service allows us to stand before God and speak to God directly. There are lots of things that I would like to talk to God about this evening, as I'm sure you all have as well. If you look a little bit further than page 170, where we normally end our communal recitation, on page 172 and 173, there is some wonderful readings. And going on to the next two pages for the Ritzeh, I urge you to take a look at those during silent prayer. But let us all rise now as one community standing together and turn to page 164 for the Amidah. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufia tehilatecha. Adonai, open my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei Bneihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Abraham v'Ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei hakol atah Rav lehoshia, Morid hatal, Mechalkel chaim b'chesed, Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, Domech noflim verofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayim emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha ba'al gevurot, Umido melach, melech meimit umechayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'emanata lehachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, Ukedoshim b'chol yom yihallelu chasela, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. We continue with silent prayer. You may be seated when you're ready. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tahasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tahasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tzol beinecha levarech et amcha bein Yisrael. V'chol leit u'chol shah b'shlomecha. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tahasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tahasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tahasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tahasim Leolam.
Before we recite the Mishaberach prayers, and join Cantor Dan, let's all turn to page 516 in our prayer book. As we remember those who served and gave their lives for our country and our world, and I invite the men and women who are here in the congregation to stand for a moment as we read together at the bottom of page 516. And we read together, O guardian of life and liberty, may our nation always merit your protection. Teach us to give thanks for what we have by sharing it with those who are in need. Keep our eyes open to the wonders of creation and alert to the care of the earth. May we never be lazy in the work of peace. May we honor those who have died in defense of our ideals. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance. May they govern with justice and compassion. Help us all to appreciate one another and to respect the many ways that we may serve you. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife, and our country be sound in body and spirit. Amen. On Memorial Day, the Jewish community nationwide and worldwide is joining together, and I think you can all check your own internet resources to Google that so that you may join together if you are able. Thank you. Please be seated.
We now turn to page 371. For those of us and those in our lives and those around our country and around the world who are in need of some extra prayers of healing, of body, of mind, and of spirit. For after a week like this, we may all feel as if we've been beaten down, as if we can never stand again. But just like we say before the Amidah, Adonai sifatai tiftach, open my lips. Let us not be silent in our grief. The famous line, rage, rage against the dying of the light. Let us rage for peace. And let us keep those of us who need the extra prayer this evening in your hearts as we sing together this Mishaberach. But before we do so, I offer this moment for anybody who would like to give sound to those names that are in our hearts. So at this moment, please do so. With those names and the names that Lynn has on the Chumash and the names that you've been given out at the beginning of our service, and for the families of those who experienced, I don't even have the words for it, who experienced what happened earlier this week. May we say this blessing for them. Page 371. courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, you can take a little rest now. I'm going to come down here. We're going to have more of a discussion than me standing up there and talking at you all, because I think we need it. So this week's Torah portion is bechukotai. Anybody want to translate that word? Nope. I'd like that. Our statute, my statutes, or I don't say laws, because at the beginning of this Torah portion, it says, my mitzvot and my statutes. Regulations, thank you. That's also very good, thank you. So, what's the difference between mitzvot and these regulations? Anybody have an idea? What's the difference between mitzvot and bechukotai, the huk? Hold on. We have our wonderful co-presidents with microphones so that those who are with us virtually can hear the answers.
I would suspect one deals with man and woman's relationship with God, and the other is man and woman with man and woman.
Interesting. So you're talking about the difference between the laws of God and the laws of man. Pretty much. Yeah. So, we have a whoa, wait a minute.
Who made the laws of man?
Who made the laws of man? That's a very good question. Yeah, so we have from our text, we have what were originally the Noahide laws, the laws that came before the Ten Commandments, which, guess what, included thou shalt not kill. But then we sort of were given these special mitzvot to follow as a people. But does that mean that we can't have a relationship between the laws of God and the laws of man? You can, and we should. We should, but there needs to be that havdalah. There needs to be that separation between laws of God and the laws of man. Our country was founded on that separation of church and state. So, in bechukotai, God says, if you follow my regulations and my mitzvot and my commandments, and then is a list of 11 or 12, depending how you count it, blessings, that if you do these things, then God will will grant you abundance in your crops, will cause it to rain and to water your fields. But what comes after that? 36, for lack of a better word, curses. Curses. If you don't follow these things, this will happen. But here's the thing. These blessings and curses are not fulfilled, in my opinion, by God. They are a response to our actions. If we don't do these good things, then bad things will happen to us. And here's what a lot of people get hung up on, is that God as this punisher. God metes out punishment for not following the commandments. I don't think that's exactly right. I think it has to do with what actions and consequences. Our actions have real-world consequences. And that's only because of what we have done. If you look at Psalm 23, verse 4, you see, Shavitecha umishantecha hema yenachamuni. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. The rod and the staff here referring to like a switch that you would in the past use to hit somebody who had done something bad. But this is supposed to be comfort. It's really interesting. Why would the rod and the staff bring comfort? Oh, well.
Okay, so if I am David, and my job is to be a protector of the flocks, then a rod and a staff are used in a protection mode rather than to smite anyone or to do anything with an evil intent. This is a good thing. This is a blessing.
Yes, this referring to the rod and the staff as more of a shepherd's crook, as more of a guiding utensil. But there's also the hafuch, the opposite, the staff as the one to dole out punishment. Did you want to?
Symbols of God.
Yes.
And that's what you're holding. You're holding them.
Yes, you're holding symbols of God. We say during the High Holy Days, we talk about God as the shepherd and us passing beneath the shepherd's gaze so that the shepherd can see who is worthy, make sure that everything is okay. We have this very pastoral view of God. But my question here is, what can we learn from our pain? Why does pain exist in the universe? Any thoughts? You got Eric and Andy?
Maybe if you have pain, you'll know not to do something again.
It's negative reinforcements. Yes. Eric, did you have something to?
For those who know me on Torah study, whenever I'm going to say something, before I even say it, they'll say this, and it's free will. Mm-hmm. Because of free will, we're free to do a lot of things, and we make mistakes. So as a result of that, there's pain.
Yeah.
Okay, so where did the expression "no pain, no gain" come from?
Exactly. No pain, no gain. I know that that there's been a lot in my life that I've learned from pain. Getting hit by a car is one of them while walking across the street. If you've ever wondered where these scars come from, that's from getting hit by a car. I also have a metal rod in my leg. It was back in 2007, and I was 20 years old. But guess what? I totaled the car. But But, and listen to this part of the story about why I was crossing the street. To get to the other side, no. You calling me a chicken? So that day, I was returning to my college after having lunch with my mother, after having received midterm grades and having all A's, and I was very happy. And yes, thank you. My mother was very happy as well, and we went out to lunch, and I was returning for my afternoon class. And lunch is where my memory ends. Because sometimes when you lose your short-term memory, and some that hasn't made it to long-term memory, bye-bye. So everything from that up until I woke up in the hospital, I have no memory of. But the police report said that there had been an accident in an intersection right outside my college, right at the corner of where my college campus started. And there had been an accident, and I had witnessed the accident, and I had pulled into an off street off of the main road. And I had gotten out to help and to assist the people in the accident. I don't know anything more than that. But since it happened in an intersection, there was either a police officer or a fireman directing traffic, and they told me that I could cross. But somebody wasn't paying attention and barreled through the intersection at 35 miles an hour, or probably more, because 35 was the speed limit. And luckily, it was a car that was low enough that I went onto the hood of the car and over it instead of getting knocked down and run over. That seems like a bit opposite of karma, don't you think? Helping out in an accident and then get hit? So a couple of months after I came back to the college and was rejoining everything, this happened after about 8 months of recovery, I had an interview with the school paper, and they asked what happened and all of that and how I felt about it. And they said, and I said, God was knocking some sense into me. God was knocking some sense into me. Why? Because at that time, I was just coasting through life. I was taking the bare minimum at a community college, just getting the general education done, and I really wasn't living up to my potential. And my thought is that God was looking down and said, I need to smack some sense into this boy. It sounds harsh, but that is what led me on the path to be here today. Because during my recovery, I began to work with the cantor at my temple in St. Louis. I would sit down at a couch, and they would bring students to me, and I would help them with their prayers. And I knew that I wanted to do something with music, and originally it was to be a choir director at like a high school or something like that. But I realized my love of music, of Judaism, and working with people, and it was kind of like a no-brainer. So from that pain that I experienced, I learned and I grew, and that is what led me here today. Yes. Thank you. Now, yes.
Thank you.
Susan.
Joy is like a state of but pain is a state where you learn.
Yes.
I would share with you, just from the story that you told, if we think about the story of Joseph and how they all felt so terrible, and Joseph felt so terrible, and he said, no, I'm here for a reason. It's because I went there that I could feed my whole family. So it's not great that you were hurt in an injury.
Right.
However, you were hurt, and now look at that. You're here with us, and that's a blessing.
It is.
It's
It
a
is.
blessing, hopefully, for both of us, but I certainly know it is a blessing for us.
It helped me to appreciate what I've been given. Helped me to appreciate life. Back in 2007.
Did your mother see the accident?
Did my mother's? No. Oh, thank God. No, they next thing they knew that I was in the hospital, and I woke up to somebody tugging on my chin, stitching out my face. So, yes, I was in St. Louis. So here's my question. What have we learned from this past week? What have we learned from this past month? What have we learned from these past years? Exactly.
Apparently not enough, because it's a repetition of too many things that are going on. This is not a first shooting. This is not the last shooting. And as you know, I'm an attorney, and I don't understand why more is not done for mental health, since most of this is not criminal. It is a mental health issue that we seem to overlook and ignore. And to put your point sharper on pain, pain teaches us compassion to others as well, or for others as well.
Yes, before, if you don't mind. I'm going to read a list here, along with numbers. Hungary, 1. Turkey, 1. Estonia, 1. Russia, 1. Germany, 1. Azerbaijan, 1. Kenya, 1. China, 1. Greece, 1. Brazil, 2. Canada, 2. France, 2. Afghanistan, 3. Nigeria, 4. Pakistan, 4. India, 5. South Africa, 6. Mexico, 8. United States, 288. Since 2009, what have we learned?
What I've learned is, as of today, I have survived, as several of us have, of all sorts of things. But the biggest takeaway, and it gets a little personal and a little political, and I'm sorry if it offends anyone, every country in this world has mental illness. We are the only ones who have mass murders like this. And it's the guns. They don't have guns, they can't do it. The end.
So, I understand that this topic is very touchy. But guess what? We need to talk about it. Because if we don't talk about it, nothing happens and we don't learn. My thing here is earlier this week, and I'll get to you two in just a sec. Earlier this week, I keep hearing, it's sacred. This one sentence in our Constitution, in the amendment, it's sacred. It's sacred. What is sacred? But why do we use the term sacred? Sacred should have a special meaning in our lives, a separation of church and state. So you can say it's important. I myself am for guns, but for proper gun control. That is my personal feeling. Now, if we take what some people have said about what is some solutions, and let me apply it to how we interact here in this synagogue. Do you want me standing up there saying Shema with a gun in my back pocket? Do you think that that would help in any way? Do you want me to have it in my office? Do you want me to have it anywhere when I come on to this property? But we have it out front. And who do we have out front? A trained professional whose responsibility it is as a public servant, as a officer of the peace, to keep the peace. So, yes.
I got to stand because this has been a tough week, as many of you know, and those of us who are teachers. Sorry. Well, plus I have stitches in my mouth from that tooth. Whatever it was a number of years ago, and this had occurred. It could have been Sandy Hook. And there was a discussion, and I said to somebody, because we do know there is mental illness. We don't deny that. Mm-hmm. But if you walked into a room and there was a mentally ill person holding a gun, pointing it to your child, what are you going to deal with first? You're going to have to take that gun away. First, that's the first priority. Then you can deal with the mental illness. But you don't want that gun pointed at your child. And I bet there isn't a person in Texas now, in that town, and up in Connecticut, who wouldn't turn in their gun to have their child back.
I'm stopping it. Okay. I think going forward, folks, there is room for discussion within your own communities, within your own families. We all agree that there is a crisis in our youth and our adults in mental health at this time in our lives, and not only in America. There are mental health crises in many places. We can have our personal opinions based on the laws in which we live, and we can agree or disagree with the laws in our community, in our country, in our world. But the discussion and the important thing that Cantor Dan is trying to share with us in this teaching is that it is something to talk about. We began a discussion, it set some thoughts in our head, and the discussion should continue with your families that you want to protect. My own grandchildren attend a high school where there was a horrific display of shooting and death a few years ago. We've all been touched in some way, and the important thing is that conversation will start changing some laws and start protecting the mental health of people who are in dire need. As a social worker in our community for many years, I can share with you there is not enough mental health resources to address the needs of the young and the old in our county. Cantor Dan, thank you for getting this conversation going.
Yes, I will end because we can't be here all night. We could be here all night talking about this, but we must move on with our service, but keep these thoughts in mind. So my last thought here, you look like you really want to say something. It's okay.
It's something that I wrote on Wednesday morning. Some of you know I'm a survivor from the Douglas shooting. Those were my students, including the shooter, so I kind of know this firsthand. And it's kind of a good way to summarize, too, and close this out. And it says, just maybe parents become more involved with their children's lives, taking them to band practice, dance practice, Little League, attending all of your children's events. Just maybe when children are difficult in school, elementary, middle, or high school, just when those referrals are written, when the teachers are begging for help from the guidance counselors and the administration, Just maybe the school-based personnel and the administrators on the district level start listening to the classroom teachers. Just maybe those classroom teachers have a clue that there is something wrong with a child when they keep repeating it and asking for help, and when it comes from more than one teacher and it comes day in and day out, year after year. Just maybe schools get help for those children. Just maybe parents again respect and listen to the children's teachers, and just maybe the teachers and the parents and the administrators work together. Just maybe we stop as a society producing extremely violent games and movies. My generation grew up watching Looney Tunes. Yes, those cartoons were very violent, but somehow we knew that it was wrong, and you just don't do that. Just maybe we go back to more fun and lighthearted cartoons, TVs, movies, and pull ourselves away from the extremely realistic and violent TV shows, cartoons, and movies that are out there today. Just maybe today's music can also stay away from those violent tones and lyrics. Just maybe without infringing too much on your personal rights, we make it extremely difficult for those people that have had difficulty in school with their behavior and that are exhibiting other negative behaviors, that we make it very challenging and difficult and even impossible for them to get weapons of destruction. That's coming from a Florida teacher of over 30 years, me.
So, yeah.
I'm afraid they're making mental illness the crutch for this violence. I don't think it's a totally mental illness, and we shouldn't lean the entire fault of this shootings on mental illness. There are many more other reasons for it, and we should explore those.
So, let us bring this conversation to a pause and say we will pick this up again at some point within our families, within this community. I wanted to end with this, a post from a father. My 11-year-old saw me crying and asked if it was about the shooting. Yeah, I said, it's really sad and I worry about you all. It's okay, Dad, he said to me. We train for this. What have we learned? What is truly sacred? I now turn it over to our co-president, Betty Adams, who has some announcements.
Okay. Wow. Shabbat shalom to everyone. Thank you, Dan. And okay. Thank you, everyone here in our sanctuary. To those of you watching from home, I am Betty Adams, co-president of Temple Sinai, along with Lynn Weinstein. And thanks, Dr. David McFarland, for our beautiful music tonight, Dan for that meaningful talk. We're grateful tonight to all of these sponsors. Our Shabbat services are sponsored by Maddie and Melvin Mogel in memory of Melvin's mother, Frida Mogel, Donna and Larry Lopater in memory of Larry's father, Joseph Lopater, and Larry's brother, Arthur Lopater. Betty and Eric Adams and family in memory of Michael House, Pam Nadler and Mark Sickles in honor of Pam's birthday. Happy birthday. The following donations to the community food pantries are sponsored by Donna and Larry Lopater in memory of Larry's father, Joseph Lopater, and Larry's brother, Arthur Lopater. Betty and Eric Adams and family in memory of Michael House, Robert Orr in memory of his father, Harold Orr, Marcia Weber in memory of Essie Gerstein, Belle Brody in memory of Morris Goldberg. ONEG sponsorships tonight, Susan Postal Sweet and Jay Sweet in honor of Jay's birthday, Angela and Jason Kahn in honor of their wedding anniversary. Happy birthday, happy anniversary, and Harriet Meyer in honor of her May birthday and her son Richard and great-granddaughter Catalina's birthdays. It's a fun month for you. Our Saturday, May 28th Shabbat Torah study is sponsored by Donna and Larry Lopater in memory of Larry's father, Joseph Lopater, and Larry's brother, Arthur Lopater, Betty and Eric Adams and family in memory of Michael House. Jim Hurt, who says he's sitting on his tractor counting the Omer. He's our member that lives part-time in Maryland on a beautiful farm, and he loves tractors. And Linda Gangler in memory of her mother, Helen Rabin. And just a few announcements tonight. Come enjoy a traditional Shabbat dinner with us on Friday, June 10th at 6 p.m. Wine, challah, chicken, salad, and sides, and there is a vegetarian option on request. Followed by a wonderful Shabbat service. If you're watching from home tonight, June 10th would be a great night to come in person. Members and non-members are welcome, and you can sign up if you're here tonight or call and speak with Judith in our office during the week. Gotta show it. 561-276-6161, extension 112, and that will get you Judith on the phone, and she will help you sign up. Oh, and yes, and the choir will be singing on that night. Oh my gosh, how could I forget that? That's a very important ingredient. Next Saturday night, June 4th, we'd love you to come for an evening of prayer and discussion and a delicious dairy dessert. Please join us at 7 p.m. Then Sunday morning, June 5th at 9:30 a.m. for the Shavuot Festival service with Yizkor prayers. Next Saturday night, by the way, I didn't mention what it is. It's Erev Shavuot. And also, just to be clear, there will definitely be Erev Shabbat services next Friday night, as usual, at 7:30 p.m. So don't miss out on that. Don't forget Saturday morning Shabbat services in the sanctuary tomorrow and virtually at 10 a.m. Torah study on Zoom at 12:30. Thank you in advance for being generous and contributing to the Tzedakah Bowl before you leave tonight. Shabbat Shalom.
We now turn to page 570, as it is still in the period of the Omer. We turn to that page and say the blessing as we rise as a congregation. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kirishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sifrat haomer. Today is the 42nd day and the 6th week of the Omer. We continue on page 586 with the Aleinu, and we remain standing. It's up to us to call ourselves to task, to sing what's good and true, to bring about redemption. It's what we were free to do. Or what's the point of being here if we're not moved to change our ways? Aleinu l'shabeach. It's time to live our praise. The top of the page. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon hakol. Lateit gedola leotzer breshit, shehu notei shamayim ve'yosed haaretz, u'moshav yekaro b'shamayim mima'al, u'shchinatu zo begove meromim, hu Eloheinu ein od, va'anachnu משתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך Adonai echad, u'shemo, u'shemo, u'shemo echad. You may be seated. I invite our co-president, Lynn Weinstein, to help us conclude our service.
This is the time in our service we remember family and friends whose lives had full meaning for every one of us. Throughout our sanctuary, we see lights kindled as it is the yahrzeit of some of our family and friends. And this evening, we include several folks who I remember from many years ago, including Sarah Barth, Carol Kenny Brooks, Ben Drush, Sandra Gluckman, Louis Golmitz, Morris Gross, Michael House, Jack E. Horowitz, Molly Jackler, Henry Cass, Teresa Klopman, Martin Corenfield, Devora Clara Lane, Helen Mundell, Louis Nuzinoff, Dr. Harold Orr, Ann Pincus, George R. Price, Harry Rabinovitz, Harry Raven, Celia Rosenberg, Bertha Rothstein, Tilly Schlein, David Schulich, Sadie Schwartz, Muriel Jessam Sherman, Rebecca Spivak, Anna Stein, Samuel Weiner, Gertrude Wolitz, and Eva Zenko. We also remember Edward Dirge, Goldie Eisenstein, Kate Friedfeld, Issy Gerstein, Morris Goldberg, Sarah Kales, Bertha Konigsberg, Fred Kramer, Arthur Lopater, Joseph Lopater, Fred Mogul, Sylvia Pan, Phyllis Pasternak, Meyer Rokaw, Ralph Topol, Mortimer Weiss. As I go around the sanctuary, if there's someone particularly remembering in your heart and mind, please stand and recite their names. And our friends at home, also, please recite names of loved ones. I'm going to recite the first names of people who lost their lives this week. Nevaeh, Jackie, McKenna, Jose, Ellie, Uzziah, Ameri, Xavier, JC, Tess, Miranda, Alethea, Mate, Lexi, Layla, Yaila, Annabelle, Rogelio, Eliana, Ava, and Irma and Joe. We also remember those who are most recent passing and in the Schlossian period, including Walter Wisniewski, Roberta Santamaria, Nikki Belomo Cohen, Richard Halpern, Evelyn Burstein. Let us all join together, praising God as Jewish communities do throughout our world as we rise and join in the Mourner's Kaddish, page 598. Yiskadal v'yiskadash shemei rabbah, B'alma divra hirutei v'yamlich malchutei,
בחייכון וביום אחד ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם עולמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבר ויתרער ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקדושה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel. And once again, we join together. Amen. Amen.
Please take your seats, friends.
Before we end this evening's service with a melody for Oseh Shalom, I offer up this prayer. Adonai sifatai tiftach, Adonai, open up my lips that I may teach what is true, that I may know what is holy and what is sacred, and that I may know the difference between the kadosh, the holy, and the chol, the regular. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Say shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Say shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oh, say shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Please join us in the back for a little motzi and a little kiddush. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Next time we need to tune the guitar.
Yeah, I must have hit it or something after the running.
Yeah, because also you got really.
Yeah, it got quarter step low.